Yeah. Surprise, a little different than you used to. Yeah. Dropping these bars on YouTube, knowledge I introduce you. Yeah. We chasing this money like it's the prize, it's the voodoo. Fugazi, fugazi, it's just a lie we buying into. Yeah. We need some cars on deck. Get the rollies, get the moe, all the Mars on deck. Right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to jump straight into this because there's been a little bit of news from the States. Well, comments from the Fed over in the States, a warning of interest rate rises over there. Now, if you've been following some of the live streams that I've been doing, you'll know that they are in a far better place when it comes to this battle against inflation than we are in the UK. So the question that we're going to try and answer in this live is the rumored, or at least the idea that there is going to be further rate hikes in the US, good or bad news for us here in the UK? We'll have a look at their situation, we'll have a look at our situation, and we'll have a look at what the forecasts are basically saying. But we're going to start this specific live stream with some comments from Jerome Powell. So let's just get this up. This is what we're talking about, more rate rises in the US. Jerome Powell, by the way, if you don't know who he is the head of the Fed. So think about Andrew Bailey here in the UK. He is the boss of the Bank of England. Jerome Powell is effectively his counterpart over in the States. These are some comments that he, or remarks that he made last week. Let's take a very quick listen.
At last year's Jackson Hole Symposium, I delivered a brief, direct message. My remarks this year will be a bit longer, but the message is the same. It is the Fed's job to bring inflation down to our 2% goal, and we will do so. We have tightened policy significantly over the past year. Although inflation has moved down from its peak, a welcome development, it remains too high. We are prepared to raise rates further if appropriate, and intend to hold policy at a restrictive level until we are confident that inflation is moving sustainably down toward our objective. Today, I will review our progress so far and discuss the outlook and the uncertainties we face as we pursue our dual mandate goals. I will conclude with a summary of what this means for policy. Given how far we have come, at upcoming meetings, we are in a position to proceed carefully as we assess the incoming data. Although inflation has moved down from its peak, a welcome development, it remains too high. We are prepared to raise rates further if appropriate, and intend to hold policy at a restrictive level until we are confident that inflation is moving sustainably down toward our objective. 2% is and will remain our inflation target. We are committed to achieving and sustaining a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to bring inflation down to that level over time. Beyond changes in interest rates, bank lending standards have tightened and loan growth has slowed sharply. Such a tightening of broad financial conditions typically contributes to a slowing in the growth of economic activity, and there is evidence of that in this cycle as well.
All right, so those are the main comments that he made here. Let's just get rid of that. Let's go back full screen over here. So a couple of things that you mentioned there. Inflation is still too high. Now, I'll share a couple of screens with you in a moment just to see what their inflation number is currently. And we'll do a bit of a side-by-side with where our numbers are currently to kind of give a juxtaposed position. They're in a far better position than where we are, but what are they forecasting? He's talked about they're going to keep policy at a restrictive level, and they're going to do so until they're able to hit 2%. Now, typically, you could argue that the Bank of England can be accused of following suit in terms of the Fed does this, they will copy. And so whilst we've been speaking about the fact that there are going to be interest rate rises still, towards the end of this year before things start to tail off, this is kind of more of indication of the challenges that we're basically facing and potentially what the states are doing. The question is, are they going to follow suit? But let's very, very quickly take a look at what the situation over in the states is based on their data and what we're seeing at the moment when we look at the economic figures. So this is the United States at the moment. This is the forecast, okay? So this is their current inflation rate at 3.2% right here. Now, what they are projecting is that in Q3, they're expecting that their inflation is going to jump from 3.2 to 3.5%. And this is why they are arguing that they're going to potentially introduce more interest rate hikes. Now, as you can see, when you look at the interest rate line right here, let me just highlight this entire thing to put a color to that. So we're looking at, it's currently their rate at the moment is currently 5.5, which is a match to us. Q3 they're looking to keep it at 5.5. However, in Q4 there is going to be a jump, so they're signposting a 0.25% jump in Q4, and they're going to remain at that level through Q1, and hopefully start to ratchet back on their rate increases in Q2 of 2024. And if you look at the inflation line right here, you can kind of see why, because they're predicting inflation is going to increase to 3.5, but in Q4 of 23, Q1 of 24, they're predicting that inflation is going to come down to 3%. That is still a percentage point off the target of 2% that they have. In Q2, when they start to ease off on their interest rate hikes, reverse the 0.25% that they're going to effectively implement in Q4 and Q1 of 2024, you start to see, well, actually, they do that because inflation they are forecasting will get into the 2% range at 2.6%. Now, when you look at where we are, and this is the interesting piece, so let's have a look at where we are currently. So this is us, the UK. So we're currently, at 5.25%, right? This is our current. Actually, is this right? 1 second. Let me just double check this. Forecasts, and I went here. Interest rates. Actual. Is that right? Hang on a second. Let me just double check this. 1 second. Make sure I'm not confusing myself and I'm actually talking out of my behind as well. Bank of England. Let's have a look. Let's just verify this very, very quickly. Where are we? Go home. Yeah, we're at 5.25%. For some reason, I was thinking we're at 5.5%. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So, right, interest rate 5.25%. That's currently where we are. According to this, we're going to see now, and this has been revised. If you've been paying attention, you've been listening or tuning into the lives. We were peaking at 5.75%. Look at this now. So Q3, 5.5%, which indicates when the Bank of England is next due to meet, which is on the 21st of September, so about 20 days from now, just under 3 weeks, we're going to see another 0.25% increase. We're going to keep that all the way through to Q1 before we start to ease off. Now, again, look at the inflation numbers. So the United States at the moment, 3.2%. In Q3, they're anticipating is going to increase to 3.5%. This is our number right now. We're at 6.8. We're hoping, or at least it's forecast currently at Q3, 5.8. Then Q4, Q1, we're going to start getting closer to our target, hitting our 2% target in Q2 of 2024. And so, look, is this essentially going to mean that we have more bad news coming for the UK? I mean, that's the real question that we need to answer right here, right? Is this going to be bad news for the UK? And look, I think ultimately when you start to consider everything that's happening right now, have I just frozen? My Mac is just absolutely just killing me right now. It really, really is. Bear me 1 second, guys. There we go. So is this bad news for the UK? I think we can take some kind of relevance from the US and what they're experiencing over there. But I do think it's really important for us not to conflate where we are and where they are. They're in a different kettle of fish. We're in a completely different boat. And their inflation issues aren't as, I guess, entrenched as ours have turned out to be in terms of that inflation being almost ingrained into our core things that we buy, like our shopping, CPR, that kind of stuff, right? They have very, very different issues over in the States. And so I think whilst ultimately you could argue that the Bank of England will follow suit, as they normally do. When the Fed does something, they will copy. I think it will be done in the context of what we're facing right now. We have way further to go than the US. And many people, if you're skeptical, may say that actually our hope that we're going to go from 6.8 to 5.8 in Q3, which is a 1% drop. Some people, if you want to be cynical, will say that's very, very optimistic. Then to 3.9 in Q4, hitting 2% in Q2 of 2022. When you start comparing when the states are looking to hit their 2% market, in Q2 2024, they're forecasting inflation rate to be at 2.6%. So do we really have the ability to hit our inflation target before the states from where we are right now, which is way behind the US? My honest answer to that is I have no idea. I have no idea. We're going to have to wait and see. But I suppose all eyes are going to be on the Monetary Policy Committee on the 21st of September to effectively find out what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting, really. I think we can be pretty certain to see a 0.25% increase, unless something happens in between now and then, which warrants more of a push. I'll be very, very surprised, though. But I think we still have some interest rate rises to come. The good news here is it feels as though we're at the, you see if you look at a hump, right? You have this massive increase, and then you get that slope where it comes down. It feels like we're there at the moment. It feels like we're on the opposite side where things will start to trail off fairly soon. And I think the sooner we're able to come off that precipice and start on the downward trend, everyone's going to feel so much better about where they are and the situation that we're in. And until then, it's going to be very, very difficult to, know exactly what is going to happen. But that's where we are at the minute. I don't think it's necessarily going to be bad news. Yeah, they'll probably follow suit. But look, we got to deal with what we have to deal with. We can't look at our neighbors or look at what other people are doing necessarily. And it's the same thing with personal finance. If all you do is you think about what other people are doing, you lose sight of what you need to do. And the obsession with what someone else is doing can often be a very, very negative thing, because not only do you lose focus on what you should be doing, but you then have this comparing kind of situation that you get into, which can be just horrible. And I think we need to focus on the main things. And from a personal finance point of view, doing everything that we can do as individuals to make sure that we're able to weather this storm as much as possible. Obviously, the downside to interest rates going up will be mortgages and rents. I mean, I haven't done a lot this week in terms of content because I've just been so busy. But boy, some of the stories and some of the things that are out at the moment are scary. I was looking at doing something around rents in London. I mean, it's some scary stuff. I was speaking to a friend yesterday, and they were saying the rental market is mad. It is absolutely mad. So how do you navigate that from a personal point of view if you are restricted on income and you're tight, like razor thin on your budget? We'll talk a little bit more about that next week once I've got a little bit more time. But I appreciate you for watching this. If you did enjoy it, if you did get some value, please be sure to smash the like button. It just means that other people like yourself will get to watch this video and maybe benefit from what we've spoken about here. If you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing as well. I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined, who has recently subscribed. We're at 42,358 right now. So close, really getting towards that 42,400 mark. Thank you so much for your support. I will catch you a bit later on. Enjoy the weekend. I may not be around on Sunday for a clinic. I'll let you know, but if you've got the notification bell on, if I do schedule something, you'll be made aware that is what is happening. But guys, thank you so much. Enjoy your evening, and I will catch you later.
Yeah, surprise, a little different than you used to. Dropping these bars on YouTube, knowledge I introduce you. We chasing this money like it's the prize, it's the voodoo. Fugazi, fugazi, it's just a lie we buying into. We need some cars on deck. Get the rollies, get the Moe, all the Mars on deck. We got the traders, got the picture with the Bentley in Dubai. Are you dripping in designer, looking fly? On the bombardier, sipping on the wine. broke, man, we broke. Where's the fun in being broke? Stocks and bonds get you yoked. That's what I'm teaching these folks. I see that smoke, see them choke. Getting cooked while I'm researching these stocks. Buying coke. 20 months on the channel, million people taking note. I got a warrant for Buffet. I'm coming for his vote.